Welcome to Leaders Up Close and Personal. This program is part of UCF's Engineering Leadership and Innovation Institute, also known as Eli Squared. My name is Tim Kotnour and I'm the director of Eli Squared. Today we have with us Dennis Lind. He is Vice President of Design and Engineering from Walt Disney Park and Resorts. So Dennis, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you being here.
I'm very happy to be here, Tim. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. So you've talked about leadership, and I've heard you talk about leadership in the past. And you've said this thing that leadership is actually easier than engineering. For me, I find that a little hard to understand, but why do you believe engineering or leadership is easier than engineering?
Well, when you think about engineering, there's a lot of rules and laws associated with engineering. There's physics you got to meet, and there's engineering equations, there's constraints, and there are guidelines about how you actually execute something from an engineering perspective. It takes a lot of hard work to do the analysis, the design, the testing, redesign, and so on. Leadership, on the other hand, has no constraints. There's no rules of physics associated with leadership. You're free to go whichever direction makes sense to you, and you have to rely in large part on your instincts and on your perspectives, your vision. Those things are internal to you, and for me, they're easy to do. Yeah, I work very hard as a leader. I've worked harder at this job than I've worked in any other, if you think about the time it takes and the amount of energy I have to put into it. But it's easy because it's energetic. It makes an impact far broader than you can make as an individual.
All right.
So if I can show you a story about how I think about leadership.
Okay.
So you may know there's a movie out there, name it's Dave. And Kevin Kline plays in the movie, and he plays a surrogate for the president who has a stroke. And all that's not particularly important to the message, but there's a scene in that movie that when I saw the film, I said, that's what leadership feels like to me. Kevin gets into this robotic machine where he is trying to make it move with his hands and an extension of his arms. It's part of a ribbon cutting for a factory. And at one point he makes a joke where he raises his hands out and he says, I once caught a fish this big. And the robotic arms spread out 50 feet. And for me, it clicked. That was the point where I really felt like that's what leadership feels like to me. I can make this much impact as an engineer, and I can have this much influence, but when I'm a leader, my reach is extended well beyond my own, completely across my entire organization. And the power to have that sort of influence on the outcomes is what's really exciting about engineering, and that's what makes it easy for me. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, that is good. So if you have fun about leading engineers and you can have that reach and beyond, how do you spend your time, right? Because you said it takes a lot of time, and it's leadership time. Are there things you spend more time on as a leader?
I think that for me, what I spend most of my time on is trying to formulate a perspective. My view of leadership is it starts with vision. You have to know where you're going as an organization, where you want to take your organization. So you have to have a vision. You have to know what your boundary conditions are. There are always boundary conditions. There's legal constraints, which are part of your ethical duty as a leader and as a business person. There are financial constraints, and there's time constraints. There's a lot of things that guide you. But your vision is what's important. So define the vision, define the boundary conditions, and then get moving along toward that vision. That's what leadership's about. I spend a lot of time thinking about that and trying to make sure we're headed in the right direction as an organization. And then I spend a lot of time with my team trying to encourage them to have their own personal vision and to have it aligned with the organization's vision and keep moving toward good outcomes for the company. In many cases, that means get out of their way, give them the guidelines, give them the boundary conditions, and then let them go. Some cases, it takes a more directive approach, but getting out in front of the group with the flag and saying, this is where we're headed. But probably most of my time is thinking about, are we headed in the right direction? Are we aligned with the corporate goals and the company we're in? And is everybody on board? Are we all working together toward a common outcome?
Right. So if you set that vision, given some parameters, guidelines for folks, and I imagine teams and other folks, leaders, have to go make decisions. Any kind of guidance you've given to those individuals or teams when maybe they're just not making the decision they need to make?
Sure. Yeah, decision making is a critical component of leadership. Nothing happens till a decision is made. And so often people get hung up. They're trying to figure out the exact right answer, trying to get as much information as they can. And the way I think about it, and the way I share with my teams about how to think about it is it's kind of like being on a boat. You can get aboard the boat and you can decide where you're going from where you are. You're still tied up to the dock. You may have the motor spinning up. And you draw on the map your path. This is where I'm headed. And you can spend a lot of time drawing that path, analyzing, calculating, reading weather reports, all those things that are a component of how you decide where you're going. But if you never untie from the dock, if you never get moving, nothing ever happens. So I tell people, get the information you need, cast off, get away from the dock, get moving. No matter what happens, things will change as you go, things you didn't anticipate. The wind will come up, the current will change, the tide will come in. You have to adjust. As long as you have a vision of where you're going and you stay true to that, you can adjust as you go. But if you never cast off, nothing ever good happens.
Right, so they've got to make that decision. They'll
Right.
learn as they go.
Yes.
So I want to switch topics a little bit with you. And it has to do, I know as a leader, you've helped people go grow and advance their career. And earlier you were talking with me and we were getting ready for this, and you said you've got such confidence in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So why are you so confident?
Yeah, I shared earlier with the students, some of the students, there was an image in my mind of engineers when I graduated from college. And it's a typical stereotype you might see in older television shows or whatever. You know, the button-down shirt with the tie that's out of style, short sleeves, pocket protector full of pencils and pens and so forth, pants pulled up to the waist. And white male, eyeglasses, Band-Aid on the middle of the glasses. I mean, this was the stereotype, and frankly, it wasn't too far off from when I graduated. Engineering students were really good at engineering, but not good at a whole lot of other things in general. But I'm privileged to host about 100 college interns in our industry, in our business every day, and it is extremely refreshing and very gratifying to see the quality of these students. You know, the diversity is amazing. We have all dimensions of diversity represented, you know, whether it's men and women, it's ethnic, racial diversity, different age groups and so forth. But more than that, they come with a common goal to be successful and to make each other successful. They really recognize that teamwork is what's going to win, and they come with skills that most engineers in the past wouldn't have had or assumed to have. The ability to come up with ideas, to work together, to present those ideas in a business forum in a cogent and clear manner, and to be able to sell those ideas. And then they bring passion and energy. All those make me real comfortable that when my time comes to move off to the next thing, I can leave my organization in the good hands of these people. So I'm real excited about the future.
Great. And so you talk about passion and energy. and I've seen you work, and I've seen you talk with folks, and very inspirational and really pushing that passion for engineering. So where did Dennis Lind find his passion for engineering, his inspiration?
Yeah, it's a fun story. I'm inspired by two primary stories. You know, the first one I'll share with you is one that so many people my age were inspired by. I can tell you exactly in July 1969 where I was when Neil Armstrong first stepped on the moon, and President Kennedy's inspiration to build that space program. That was all part of my heritage and my growing up, and hugely inspiring to see that, as Kennedy said, you know, we're not doing these things because they're easy, but because they're hard. And to see that we can take really hard things and do them inspired me to be part of that sort of career environment. I want to be an engineer because I want to do that. I want to make things better for society. Very inspirational. But even more than that, I'm inspired by my dad. My dad is not an engineer. He's, in fact, didn't graduate high school until he was nearly 70 years old, where he went back and got his GED because he wanted to teach literacy and he needed that credential. So I'm inspired by that all by itself, but he is an automotive machinist, and I grew up in a machine shop. And I spent my entire young life listening to my dad talk about engineers, and never once did he say the word engineer without a curse word in front of it. As far as he was concerned, engineers were the bane of the world. They created designs and ideas that were ill-conceived, hard to work on, just terrible things. And for me, that inspiration was someday to be able to tell my dad, I'm an engineer and I'm designing things that people can use in a way that doesn't require they curse engineers in order to feel good about it. And I am pleased to say that, you know, my dad and I have both gotten older and changed a bit. He now does talk about engineers without cursing beforehand. He does recognize that in some ways engineers are doing great things, and I think part of it is he just probably didn't want to keep cursing at his son. But
right, that's a good thing.
It was a great inspiration for me.
Well, do me a favor. Thank your dad.
I will.
For inspiring you, because you've inspired me, and I know you've inspired our students. So thank you, Mr. Lind.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
This has been Leaders Up Close and Personal. Thank you.